How to create a memorable conclusion? Let's find it out. Your conclusion is your last chance to leave your audience on a high. In fact, the success of your presentation might depend on how well you end it. Probably this is something your audience will remember for years. The following are some ideas for creating a memorable conclusion. Number 1. Best wishes close. You can wish someone best of luck or bless him or her at the end of your speech. In our case study presentation, the conclusion was, I congratulate Jim for completing 20 years in Toastmasters and wish him all the best for his next 20 years in Toastmasters. So this will leave your audience with a feel-good factor. Let's see the second idea for a conclusion, which is gratitude close. You can thank the people who helped you reach where you are if you're talking about your story, or you can thank the audience for listening to you. For example, Lance Miller in his championship speech said, "You have been a great audience." That just felt so good after his speech. In fact, the speech was great, but his conclusion was like an icing in the cake. So this was about the gratitude close. Now let's talk about the next idea, which is the answer close. If your speech has a question at the opening or in the context setting, or you have set the problem statement as a question, your conclusion could be the answer to reinforce the point. In one of my speeches, I used the following for setting the context. Do you remember anything unbeatable? I concluded the following as an answer to the question. You can beat the unbeatable using habits, because habits create magic. So this was about the answer close. Now let's talk about the fourth idea, which is the action close. You can prompt the audience to take action on your core message. You can use this option for an informative or a persuasive presentation. Now, for example, if you want to give a business presentation about goals for next year, your conclusion could be something like, you have heard what we are planning to do this year. I know what we have done in the past. I'm sure if we work together, we can do it for the upcoming years. Now, the next idea is a powerful way to close, which is a dialogue close. You can use this option for a powerful persuasive presentation. If your content is designed in such a way that a character in your story says a dialogue that reflects your specific purpose or core message, you can use the same dialogue to conclude your presentation. For example, if you use the following in your speech, when I sat crying in the corner of my home for not scoring well in exams, my mom would come near me and say, "Come on, you should be adamant till you get what you want." So this could be somewhere in your story. You can conclude by saying something like, if my mom would have been here, she would have said, "Come on, you should be adamant till you get what you want." So this is again depends on your creativity, how you can use it in your presentation, but this is very powerful for an inspiring or persuasive presentation. In fact, I remember watching Brian Stevenson TED Talk. It's an awesome talk. Just search on Brian Stevenson in YouTube or TED.com. His talk is one of the most inspiring talks. He used a dialogue close in his presentation. You should watch it. The next idea is the poem close. You can use a poem to conclude your presentation. Again, this is for inspiring or persuasive presentations. Sir Ken Robinson, in his famous TED Talk, Bring on the Learning Revolution, read a poem from W.B. Yeats about dreams. It was an inspiring talk, and this poem that he read as a conclusion was the icing on the cake. Now, the next idea is the circular close. This is one of the most powerful and something which I personally like to use in my presentations. Circular close is one of the best techniques. Why? Because the idea is to bring your audience back to the starting point before you end. To give a perspective from the movie Titanic, it's a classic example. The opening of the movie showed Rose as an old lady. Then the core content of the movie showed love story of young Rose, and in the closing we again see old Rose where she reminisces about Jack and drops the necklace in the ocean. So now let's take an informative speech example to understand this technique in a speech setting. I was coaching my friend for his speech on 6 thinking hats. For this presentation, opening was, who can tell me one common thing that we encounter every day? It is a problem. In the body, We designed the content by illustrating the 6 thinking hats technique using stories. For the conclusion, we used a circular close. So the conclusion went like this. So the next time you encounter the common thing called problem, remember 6 thinking hats. If you had an eagle eye, you would have noticed use of another technique in the above example. Yes, it is the answer close. So what it proves is that there is no limit to the applications of techniques and strategies shown above. The more creative you get, the more memorable your conclusion will get. I hope you enjoyed this information, and I'm sure you're going to rock your presentation using these conclusions. See you till then. Thank you.